What's going on, Seattle? It's so good to be here with all of you. I want to first say that if you like hip hop music, you're in for a treat. Now, my friends over at Google/YouTube, they don't like it when I put music in my presentation, so there won't be music besides what you guys just saw. But what I'm about to share with you is some real talk. What I'm also about to share with you is what every corporate executive that I walk into a meeting and present this content to, when I walk in, he or her thinks I'm absolutely batshit crazy. And by the time I leave, they're like, wow, we get it. I'm Carlos Gill. It's so great to be joining all of you here in Seattle today. I'm joining you from Los Angeles, which is where I live. As you see here on the screen, I have a good amount of experience working for corporate brands. Winn-Dixie, LinkedIn, Save-A-Lot, BMC Software, just to name a few. I currently own and operate my own agency in Gill Media. Now, by show of hands, I'm really curious to know how many of you have heard that song, In My Feelings, I just played? Look around. A lot of you. That song, and the reason why I have it in my presentation, the reason why as 2018 was coming to a close and I started analyzing, like, all right, the good folks at Digital Summit are bringing me back for a fourth year. What am I going to talk about? The reality is that social media is not new. I'm sure you've heard it at this conference. I'm sure you hear other conferences you go to. People are going to tell you all the time how to do Facebook ads, how to do Twitter, how to use all these different platforms. I'm all about practicality and keeping it 100 from the standpoint of there's a method to the madness. There's a playbook that all of us have access to. But the reality is that today's celebrities are not the brands that us in this room represent, whether you're on the agency side or brand side, but they're real people. And that's what I'm about to share with you today is what can you learn from celebrities like DJ Khaled and Drake? And the reason why I had that song, the In My Feelings challenge, is because over the summer, it seemed like overnight, Shiggy, who's an internet creator, influencer, however you want to label him, comedian, he helped Drake create one of the hottest songs of the season, but also a song that to this day has generated over 200 million views on YouTube for one. That video I just showed you has received over 7 million engagements on Instagram, and not just the views and the engagements on Instagram, but how many of you, and I'm not gonna pick on you, but how many of you at one point or another either saw someone jumping out of their car to do this over the summer, or did it themselves and shared it on social media because you thought it was cool? A lot of you. Guess what? I'm one of them. I didn't do it because everything stays on social media and the internet nowadays, but I thought about it. And that to me is when I started thinking, all right, we as brands have access to all this capital. Beverly Jackson, a good friend of mine, just did her keynote. And example with MGM Resorts. They have access to celebrities, unlimited resources from a budget standpoint, but the average brands don't. But when you look at examples like the In My Feelings challenge, you as a brand have the opportunity to jump into those conversations, however, we choose not to. So welcome to 2019, where a brandless egg is more influential than any one of us here in this room today. Real talk. Where festivals that never happen, like Fyre Fest, are able to generate millions of dollars in revenue based off of influencers posting an orange tile on Instagram. Think about that for a moment. Who in this room does social media for a living? Almost all of us? How difficult is it today to get engagement online? Terrible. It's pretty difficult. I heard terrible. Absolutely. It's difficult. We are all in this digital ocean. That's what it is. We're all cannibalizing limited reach. You're going to see some slides here. Yes, Facebook has over 2 billion active users. Instagram has over 1 billion. Yeah, great. So what? Those aren't customers of our brands. Those are people. And we're cannibalizing each other because of the message that's being always conveyed on social media, which is what? Swipe up, learn more, click here, visit my website. We're not doing enough of having conversations. Now, by show of hands, and please, I want you to be honest here. And when I say like show of hands, like just jump up out of your seat. Who woke up this morning and see what their favorite brand of all time posted on Facebook? Look around. No, seriously, look around. Not a single person. I know I don't at all. And I work with brands, I consult to brands every single day. The reason why I, as a consumer, am not following brands actively in social media and with excitement, waking up in the morning like, hey, let me see what Cole Haan posted, or let me see what Ted Baker posted, is because of why? All the content that we're seeing is what? It's advertising. We don't want to see that. We're people. We're everyday consumers. Now, the reality is that Facebook isn't going away. I get asked this question all the time. Carlos, is Facebook going away? And the answer is no. Facebook is one of the most powerful institutions in the world. They own all of our data. Is there anyone in this room that's not on Facebook? One person? Okay. Are you on Instagram? You are, so you're on Facebook. They have access to all of our data. They even know what websites we visit because there's tracking pixels that we as brands have installed on our websites. Think about that for a moment. They know where we go on the web. They know all of our dirty secrets because they also have access to see what we're DMing. If you're on WhatsApp, on Messenger, that's Big Brother. It's not going away. So here's what I say to all my marketing colleagues, all of you, and please, 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 please do not get offended by this. This statement right here. Don't be mad at Facebook that you suck at marketing. I'm going to decode this for you. There's a playbook. We're all playing in this game. We're all players. The reality is this. This is your audience on Facebook. 1% or less of your likes are ever seeing your content. That's pretty bad. You know, I work with one client that has, like 30 million likes on Facebook. And their CMO was saying to me at the end of last year, like, we really want to activate this community. And I looked at her and said, you don't have a community of 300 or 30 million likes. You don't. The reality is you probably have a community, if I were to look at your page and just glance to see who's actively commenting, sharing, posting, probably less than 100. But this is where I start to break down what these numbers truly mean. If you take just the people in this middle section right here of this auditorium, that's a lot of people. I always think not so much about the big numbers, but the smaller numbers. The people who are truly paying attention is who you should be cultivating that relationship with. So once again, it's not Facebook's fault that your engagement is low. It's not. Facebook's a business. They have access to data for you to pay for and rent through Facebook ads. And the name of the game here is to learn, how does Facebook operate? How does content today actually get people to care about my brand? And once you know that formula and you know how the algorithm works, then guess what? You're playing the game on a level playing field. Now let me introduce you to DJ Khaled, real quick. DJ Khaled, I want to preface by saying this. I'm from Miami, Florida. Anyone else from South Florida in the house? Woo! 305. I'm from Miami, Florida. I like DJ Khaled. I've been following this guy for a long time, ever before he went viral on Snapchat. All of a sudden one day, people are hitting me up, texting me, tweeting like, hey, have you been seeing what DJ Khaled's doing on Snapchat? I'm like, no, like, what the hell is DJ Khaled doing on Snapchat? DJ Khaled, for the period of 2014 to just about today, has become one of the most watched people online. More people are watching DJ Khaled's antics than Kim Kardashian, if you can believe that. And let me be the first to state the obvious. DJ Khaled's not the best looking person. He's not the best spoken person. He's not even really the best dressed person. He's not even the best rapper in the game. You know what? He gets reach. And I'm going to share with you guys a quick video of how he does that. DJ Khaled, like I said, not the most articulate, not the best dressed, not the best well-spoken, but he gets reach. And brands work with him because he has access to this reach. Brands like Silk. DJ Khaled is essentially teaching us how to live a healthier life, how to eat better, how to take care of ourselves. Shay's Cocoa Butter is working with him. He's teaching us how to take good care of our skin. Guess what? DJ Khaled's even teaching us how to do our taxes. DJ Khaled's teaching us how to manage our finances. And then DJ Khaled is teaching us what to drink after we do our taxes. Do you all see how that works? Every single one of you in this room, every single one of you has a DJ Khaled type figure in your own community right now, and you probably don't even know that. You know, I'm in the process of writing my first book. It's gonna come out on October 3rd. And this weekend, I was doing a search on Twitter. I'm real passionate about the brands that I've personally worked as an employee for. And I run up a search. I used to work and run social media at Winn-Dixie, which is a supermarket chain, for those of you that are familiar with it in the Southeast. And Winn-Dixie's biggest competitor is Publix. And I run this search on Twitter for the purpose of my book around community management. So I go on Twitter and I type in Winn-Dixie, Publix, and the word cake. I was surprised to see there are literally hundreds, not bullshitting you, hundreds of people that from the beginning of time up until it was like that day, people are tweeting Winn-Dixie, Publix, and an experience about a cake. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's an experience. They're not tagging a single one of these brands. Therefore, the brands are not swooping in and they're not having conversations. I'm like, golly, what a missed opportunity. Like if I was still at Winn-Dixie, my team would be all over these people. The Publix consumers, the people that hate Winn-Dixie, the people that love Winn-Dixie, the people that are going to Walmart, all of them. Most brands aren't. Because what do? Someone tags your brand, and then it's like, all right, now we have to go into crisis mode. Now we have to go into PR mode. Now we have to go into comms mode. That's not community management. That's having a service level organization. So I say this with all the love. Every brand needs to be less a brand and be more like DJ Khaled. I've shared this slide with Fortune 100 executives that think I'm absolutely out of my mind crazy. But I presented to them the same presentation I'm presenting to you. And you know what? I'm a big fan of numbers and data. Because what happens when you work in a corporate office, in a corporate environment? All of our jobs are predicated based on what? Numbers, data. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and show you, Mr. and Mrs. CMO, using data that the numbers don't lie. Our brand, not so good when it comes to social media. Why is that? People like DJ Khaled and the brands that work with him and or brands like NGM that are working with influencers, there's a reason why they are getting the engagement that most brands aspire. So the first major key to success is why are you on social media? Like legitimately, think this through your head and write it down on a piece of paper or put it in your iPhone and really ponder this on your drive home tonight. Why are you on social media? I will be the first person in any meeting to raise my hand and say, all of this stuff that we do can be a big waste of time. All of it, all of it. If you're sitting in an office writing content and writing posts that nobody is engaging with, besides a couple of people that work at your corporation, guess what? You're wasting your time. I can sit here and tell you how to do email marketing, how to do SEO, a whole bunch of other things that don't involve a big Herculean effort to get minimal results. Now, social media should be a part of your strategy for many things. Customer service, I talked about PR, employee advocacy. There's many use cases. But I think the biggest mistake that a lot of marketers make is way back when, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, a lot of brands rushed to the market. They want to have a Facebook page. They want to have a Twitter account. They want to have an Instagram. And they didn't know the reason why they needed any of these things. They just did it. Through attrition, a lot of us have walked into jobs that we didn't start the social media accounts. We just inherited someone else's work, because that happens. And now you're sitting here like, well, the reason why we have an Instagram account that no one engages with is because we created it, so now we have to maintain it. I call bullshit on that. I can't tell you how many times I've been in front of a client and said, you get 0 engagement, none. On your Twitter, chop it. Chop it. Just get rid of it. No one's paying attention. Instead, put your resources, put your ad dollars onto Facebook, onto Instagram, onto a platform that makes sense. So I ask all of you, do you want to be Drake or do you want to be Walmart? Like, that's a legitimate question. And what I mean by this is everyone's talking about Drake. Everyone's listening to Drake's songs. Drake's hot. But are people talking about Walmart? Are people talking about your brand? I get it. You've got iconic brands out there. I do the research. Walmart, Tide. I could go on and on. But if people aren't speaking about your brand, and here's the kick, if people are mentioning and you're not engaging with them back, that's a missed opportunity right there. The next point is don't think like a marketer. All of you in this room are consumers. You are all consumers. So think like a customer. What do you want to see? Do you want to be sold to? Do you enjoy to be advertised to, Brad? No. No one does. No one in this room. I would imagine, wants to be sold to. Engaged? Be a part of a movement? Absolutely. You just take to Twitter every single day and you see what's trending. And you see people jumping into conversations. The reason why they're hopping into those conversations is because subconsciously we want to be a part of something that's bigger than us. The reason why we as consumers take the time to do a 10-year challenge on Facebook is because we want to be a part of something. How many of these brands, though, out there are making their community feel like they're a part of something? More importantly, how many of you are actually taking the time to insert yourself in these conversations? Look, a marketing professional, a marketer, is no longer someone who sits in a cubicle or in a boardroom. They're all of you. They're storytellers. They're advocates. They're influencers. I'm not a fan of influencer marketing at all. I think it's easy to rent an influencer for a one-off gig. I'm not a fan. If a brand hits me to do an influencer activation for them, I'm very selective about the brands. And in fact, I speak to them more about becoming a brand ambassador for them if what they do aligns with what I do. So think about your own roles. We all have access to the same technology. I'm gonna pull out my iPhone. We all have access to this. We all have access to the same resources. There's nothing that any one of these companies, there's nothing that any one of these influencers have access to that you don't. The biggest difference is ad budget and the ability to create content and the ability to create a community. I'm a big fan of Wendy's. Big fan. They're savage. Do you know what it really means to be a savage on social media? Really. Savage. The reason why I like Wendy's is because they don't give any Fs. They don't hold any punches. They make social media fun. You look at when IHOP, International House of Pancakes, renamed themselves, it's a publicity stunt from IHOP to IHOB for International House of Burgers. Look what Wendy's did. They swooped in. They trend jacked. Can't wait to try a burger from the place that decided pancakes were too hard. Ouch. And look at the results. Look at the retweets. Look at the likes. That's data. But beyond that data is also showing the principal belief that you have to be perceived as being real, which is challenging when you are engaging as a logo. If we all have conversations in this room, we're people. We relate to each other, right? I didn't speak to a logo on social media unless I have a customer service issue. And even then, being that I work in the industry, typically I'll just go on LinkedIn and find the person that runs social media for that brand and reach out to them directly. Because the game has changed. We have access to all that data. Now let's talk about B2B and B2C for a moment. For me, it's all the same. Every single person on social media is a potential customer. Every single one. Regardless of what you sell, I don't care if you're a dentist, I don't care if you sell SaaS, it doesn't matter. We're all in business for a reason. I think we all get that. There's a reason why we are in social media, and that's to do what? To sell. How you get to that point where you are selling instead of just broadcasting, that's the art and also the science of how this whole ecosystem works. Because I can tell you what, when DJ Khaled is making Ciroc look sexy on his Snapchat or Instagram story, inherently the next time you go to the liquor store, if you follow DJ Khaled, you're gonna go ahead and think about buying Ciroc. Or if you follow Diddy, or any other brand that's endorsed by a celebrity or by an influencer. Now, the next key is identify who are you trying to reach? Who is your target demo? What platforms are they on? What do they want to see? What makes them tick? Are you speaking to your customers? Are you just putting out noise hoping that someone listens? That's why I say before, social media can be a big waste of time if you are not keeping a focus on what does my audience want to hear from me? Am I engaging with them on the right platforms? Which brings me to this next point. You cannot humanly, and do it well, be on every single social network or the top players. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube. You can't be everywhere and be great everywhere. You just can't. Here's what's gonna happen. Your employees, all of you, are gonna be worn out. Most social media teams that I see nowadays are no more than a handful of people at best. And that handful of people on most days aren't even able to keep up with the surge of influx of messages, get content out, and do it well. So choose the 1 or 2 channels. It's my recommendation. Choose 1 or 2 channels. Go to your offices and audit yourself. It's better that you audit yourself before your boss audits you. Okay? Audit yourself and really determine what are the 1 or 2 channels where you're seeing the biggest return. Where are you getting clicks? Where are you getting engagement? Where are people interacting with your company? And then make a business recommendation to do away with the channels where you're not seeing reach. You know, a couple years ago, I would stand on this same stage and I would pontificate for 30 minutes about using Snapchat for business. I think Bev mentioned it in her keynote. I recently put a post on my Facebook asking, is Snapchat dead? Because it's been a couple years now since I've personally and professionally been immersed in that platform, and I think a lot of marketers jumped onto it to see what the buzz was all about. They didn't get the views and the reach that they were hoping for, so then they jumped off. That's an example of chasing a shiny new object, and most brands do this. Now, if your target demo is on one of these platforms, absolutely, go all in. But keep in mind, you can't build a mansion on rented land. That's what these platforms are. You don't own any of the data, none of it. You don't own any content. As soon as you hit that send button, your content's owned by the social network. So my recommendation to all of you is start thinking through taking some of that data and that ownership back. Start driving more people to your .com so you're capturing an email address, a phone number. Start developing a longer-term relationship with your clients or with your customers or customers of your competitors through the conversations that you're having on social media. Now, let's talk about content, because without content, you don't have conversation, you don't have community, you don't have a lot of things. Content is a key part of this equation here. But don't always be thinking about how to sell. Instead, be a part of a movement. Be a part of an experience. Post content people want to share. You know, I've in previous presentations, I've had examples of notable brands. And I stopped doing this because I didn't want to feel like someone could be in the audience and then feel that I was taking a swing at them. But, you know, I typically have examples of some notable brands with millions of likes, and then they get less than a dozen engagements on a Facebook post. If you're one of those brands that's not seeing the ROI of social media, you immediately need to analyze why that is. There's a reason why everyday people are seeing engagement. There's a reason why when I go on Facebook and I just ask my friends for a recommendation, I was sitting in LA 48 hours ago and I just said, do you know of a barbershop that I can go to? Do you know of a restaurant that you can recommend in Seattle? Facebook friends like Grad here in the front swooped in. There's a reason why that happens. Because we're all people. People trust people. People buy from people. Yes, people buy from brands, I get it. But in the online world, what all of us as consumers are starting to identify brands as is advertisers. There's a big difference between an advertiser, someone who's purposely trying to sell to you, and a brand who cares about you, who's creating content that you genuinely enjoy looking at. Next, let's talk about community. Every marketer out there will say to you that content is king, and I call bullshit on that. Community is king. Without your community, you've got nothing. Nothing, zilch. Without community, without people talking about you, without people clicking that little precious heart, you literally just have noise. Have all of you seen, or for the most part, have you seen the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks? It's one of my favorite movies, and I'll tell you why. And I compare a lot of movies, sports, and music over to marketing and business. Castaway and marketing is this. In Castaway, Tom Hanks' character is stranded on a remote island, and he's talking to himself in the form of a volleyball named Wilson. Okay? Wilson is essentially your Twitter account, your Instagram account. It's your own brand. You're talking to yourself. And what Tom does throughout the movies, he sends these SOS signals. He writes help on the sand, and he's just making noise, and no one's hearing him. That's the equivalent of social media today, if you're not building a loyal following. That is the major key. Build a community one by one. When I have an issue for an airline reservation, for example, I go directly DM on Twitter. When I have an issue with a brand of any kind, I don't blast them at all. Let me tell you something. Us brands, as you know, hate to be blasted online because there will always be someone in PR or customer service that's going to intercept this and all of a sudden create an issue bigger than what it needs to be. So instead, when you're having dialogue with your customers, if something does go wrong, they know where to turn and who to turn to. When someone genuinely cares about your brand and they're buying from you, and I will share an example with you here in a moment, acknowledge them, please. An example of that is Cole Haan. Now, I use this as an example because I'm a big fan of their shoes. Do I follow them on social media? The easy answer is no. But if you go right now to hashtag #IWearColeHaan, there are over 400 posts on Instagram. Cole Haan has not swooped in on not one of them. What a missed opportunity. To have people that have purchased from your company post content for free that you don't even acknowledge. It would be an eye-opener right now if you pull out your phone and you go on Instagram and you go to the hashtag section and you type in hashtag the company that you work for. Better yet, your competition or your industry that you're in. You'll be amazed. And then that's when the light bulb goes off and you're gonna say to yourself, oh shit, there's people who've been posting content about us all along and we're not engaging with them. Can you see how that's a missed opportunity right there? Social media on that note never sleeps, my friends, never. It's 24/7. My recommendation to all of you is that if you are gonna continue to be on a platform like Twitter that has higher response rates in real time for customer service, engage with your community. These are people that need you. You know, I used that Winn-Dixie example before. I was amazed. We invest as marketers in some of the best tools in the world. Sprinkler, for example. We invest in these tools for a reason. Use them. Use them to your advantage. That's your superpower. Use them to see who's talking about your brand, who's talking about your competition, and who's talking about your industry. And if you really want to see the ROI of social media, start having more conversations. Do less posting and have more conversations. Major key. The key word in social media is social. You have to socialize. If you're not having conversations, all you're doing is advertising. And every single one of you in this room has already validated to me, you don't want to be sold to. So stop selling. Now, I'm a big fan of winning. Big fan of winning. I think even in moments where you're not getting the ROI or the outcome that you're hoping for, there's a lesson that you can learn and you can win just by taking that lesson, and that's data. Like I said before, I'm a big data nerd. So as I've worked at different brands before, I get it. Executives want a very high level report of what you're doing to justify your job. Leverage that data to your advantage. Like I said earlier, if a social network is not performing well for you, make a business decision to go all in on the platforms that are working for you. And this is one of my favorite quotes. I'm a big Jay-Z fan, in addition to DJ Khaled. Numbers don't lie. They really don't. So as you're making your plans for the rest of this year in terms of where should we spend our money, how should we use our resources, once again, tap into that data. Thank you so much.
Can you go for Carlos Field one more time? Come on, let him hear ya.